My son is so dumb.
Why do you say that?
Because he has no interest in math, he hates history, all he does is just sit around painting intricate landscapes that effortlessly capture the majesty of nature.
Wait, your son is only in elementary school and he's already painting landscapes?
Not just landscapes, he also recently sketched a portrait of me that managed to capture parts of myself that even I wasn't aware of, but he did it on the back of a math worksheet that my dumbass son hadn't even started.
Do you seriously think your son is dumb just because he created a piece of genuinely astonishing art instead of filling out some stupid worksheet?
Yeah, and it's like his siblings are smart, they do all their homework, all their assigned reading. Meanwhile, my dumb son's in the garage painting a mural of the ocean so stunningly beautiful it brings a tear to my eye.
Dude, your son is not dumb. In fact, it sounds like he's actually a pretty gifted artist.
I tried to enroll him in summer school and they rejected him, saying something like, "We don't have the resources to support his once-in-a-generation kind of talent." Can you believe that? Too dumb for summer school.
Again, not dumb. Your son is literally an artistic savant.
Yeah, well, BAMTD.
What's BAMTD?
Bad at math, therefore dumb.
Okay.
My son is so lazy.
Is he really?
Yeah, like I practically have to drag him out to the backyard to toss the football around, and when I dropped him off at his school for football practice, he was too lazy to break a sweat, so he literally snuck off the field and hid in the school theater where they were holding auditions for the fall musical.
Is there a chance your son just doesn't like football?
My son is so lazy that even after I called the coaching staff and convinced them to let him on the team, my son still never studies the playbook, he never hits the gym. One time he told me he was going to school to run routes, but I followed him and saw that he was actually just going to rehearsals for the fall musical, and it's just like, hey lazy bones, you're never gonna get better if you don't practice.
Well, rehearsal is just like a theater word for practice, so technically he was practicing.
Yeah, practicing being lazy as fuck. I mean, he's too lazy to even pay attention at a pep rally. Afterwards, I asked him if any of the cheerleaders' cheers got him particularly amped up, and he was just like,
"I told you I couldn't go to the pep rally. It was the same night as the opening for the fall musical, and I'm the lead."
I mean, can you believe that? Too lazy to go to a pep rally.
Wait a minute, if your son is the lead of the entire musical, that requires way too much work for him to possibly be lazy.
If he's not lazy, then how would you explain how every other athlete in his class played in the big game this past weekend, but all my son did was just walk out to the middle of the field before the big game and sing a rendition of the national anthem that was so pitch perfect while channeling such raw emotion that it literally brought the entire stadium to their feet? Okay, your son is not lazy just because he's more interested in the performing arts than sports. I mean, it's like that movie, High School Musical. Oh, you mean the movie about the charismatic driven dad whose lazy loser son betrays him? That's what you took away from High School Musical? My son is so lazy.
Really?
Yeah, like he joined the robotics club just so he could get out of going to football practice, and he signed up to do the science Olympiad just so he could get out of running track.
Is there a chance that he just likes science?
My son is so lazy that when I asked him if he'd rather play football at Alabama or LSU, he just looked down at his feet and said,
"I think MIT actually has a pretty good physics department."
And it's like, wow, my lazy son doesn't even want to break a sweat in hypothetical situations.
It doesn't sound like your son is lazy, it just sounds like he's more interested in doing science than playing sports.
I tried to motivate him by signing him up to run a marathon, but my lazy son didn't even train for it because he was too busy lounging around the chemistry lab after school. And then he didn't even end up running it because on the day of the run, he conveniently had to go to the state capitol to accept an award for scientific excellence.
So he worked consistently at a goal and then was rewarded for his efforts? That's like the exact opposite of being lazy.
I just don't know where my son gets it from, because when I was his age, I was anything but lazy. I mean, I would literally blow off doing my homework and studying for tests just so I'd have extra time to toss around the football with some of the other guys on the team.
Wait, you're saying you just played catch with your buddies instead of doing any of your schoolwork? Kinda sounds like you were fucking lazy.
Oh, you just have no clue how to tell when someone else is being lazy. Clearly, neither do you. My son is so lazy.
Really?
Yeah, like he refuses to pay attention in class, he hates writing essays, all he does do is just sit up in his bedroom and stream himself playing video games for an audience of 500,000 people.
Wait, did you say 500,000 people watch him play video games?
Yeah, he gets up to 500,000 people to watch him play video games on regularly scheduled Twitch streams. He has over 2 million subscribers to his YouTube channel where he consistently posts self-produced videos, and he gets on 7 trillion of my nerves by being too lazy to do his homework assignments.
It doesn't sound like your son is lazy. In fact, it sounds like he's pretty self-motivated.
He's so lazy that he doesn't even care about improving his low GPA. He'd rather just keep designing and manufacturing his own clothing line while overseeing a grassroots marketing campaign culminating in retail pop-ups with lines of customers around the block than, God forbid, prepping for the SATs so he can make something of himself. It sounds like he already has made something of himself.
himself. Yeah, he's made himself a C student. I mean, he even got a C in English class, which is supposed to be easy, and his only explanation was that he didn't have time to write any essays because a national publisher paid him a 7-figure advance to write a book, and he's been busy working on that. Your son is obviously not lazy. He's an incredibly hardworking and successful young entrepreneur. Oh yeah? Well, BASTL. What's BASTL? Bad at school, therefore lazy. Okay. My son is so lazy. Really? Yeah, like I practically have to drag him out to the backyard to throw the football around, and when I dropped him off at football tryouts, he was too lazy to even break a sweat, so he just snuck off the field and hid in the school theater while they were holding auditions for the fall musical. Is there a chance your son just doesn't like football? My son is so lazy that even after I called the coaching staff and convinced them to let him on the football team, he still never studies the playbook. He never puts in time at the gym. One time he told me he was going to school to work on his route running, but I followed him and saw that he was just going to rehearsals for the fall musical, and it's like, hey, lazy bones, you're never gonna get better if you don't practice. Well, rehearsal is just another word for practice, so technically your son is practicing. Practicing being lazy as fuck. He was too lazy to even pay attention at the pep rally. Afterwards, I asked him if any of the cheerleaders' cheers got him particularly amped to put on the pads, and he was just like, Dad, I told you I couldn't go to the pep rally. It was the opening night of the fall musical, and I'm the lead. And it's like, what do you mean you're too lazy to go to a pep rally? Your son is not lazy just because he's more interested in the performing arts than in playing sports. I mean, it's like High School Musical. You mean the movie about the strong, charismatic dad whose loser son betrays him? That's what you took away from that? My son is so lazy. Is he really? Yeah, like he's always crying when I tell him he has to do chores, and he's always crying when I pick him up from football practice, and he's always crying when he has to blow out the candles on his own birthday cake. Okay, if he's literally always crying, there's a chance he might just be depressed. My son is so lazy that when he was supposed to be working on an essay worth 20% of his grade, I walked up behind him and saw that he was actually just wiping away tears and Googling mental health resources in our area, aka slacking off. That's not slacking off. Dude, your son is not lazy. In fact, it sounds like he has a pretty serious case of depression. No, I'm telling you, he's just lazy. Like at parent-teacher conferences, none of his teachers say he's hardworking. They all just say he's constantly melancholy and they're genuinely concerned for his emotional well-being. Yeah, you should also be concerned for his emotional well-being. Oh, come on. We all know kids can't be depressed, man. Besides, I know laziness when I see it. I mean, his mother was the same way, always moping instead of working. Well, where is his mother now? Oh, she actually threw herself off a bridge like 6 months ago. Come to think of it, it was immediately after that my son's laziness started. Okay. I think my son is neurodivergent. Really? Why do you think that? Because he has a really hard time staying focused. Like I had him watch a 10-hour bass fishing tournament with me and he kept fidgeting in his chair. And then one Saturday afternoon, I had him watch me fix the lawnmower and I kept noticing his eyes drifting away from me working to some kids playing down the street. Is there a chance your son just has no interest in any of the activities you're clearly forcing him to do? He has a really hard time reading social cues. Like I always make him come along to hang out with my friends from work who are all alcoholic conservative men in their mid-50s who smell like cigar smoke, and my son has a really hard time holding a conversation with any of them. That's not him being neurodivergent, that's just you forcing him into awkward situations. No, I'm pretty sure he's neurodivergent. I mean, he is definitely dyslexic. Like, I gave him a 900-page book on the 1863 siege of Vicksburg that goes into extreme detail about the plant life of the surrounding swamp, and it took him like a really long time to read it. Yeah, that's not dyslexia. That's just a kid being forced to read what sounds like the most boring book of all time. The worst part is his teachers say he's really enthusiastic and sociable when he's at school, but then when he's at home, he suddenly becomes withdrawn and morose, which can only mean he's bipolar. It could also mean that his home environment isn't allowing him to feel comfortable. Oh, well, I guess I could sit down with my son and have a really honest and open dialogue about what I could change to make him feel more confident and empowered. Yes, that sounds like a great idea. Or even better, I could change none of my own behavior and just load him up with a shitload of pills. Okay. My son is so rebellious. Really? Yeah, like I recently caught him eating a snack that contained traces of high fructose corn syrup, and he started skipping his mandatory hourly check-in calls. It doesn't sound like your son is rebellious. It sounds like you're just really controlling. My son is so out of control rebellious that I found out from a janitor that I've been bribing to spy on him at school that he's been talking to his friends between classes even though I forbid him from having unsupervised social interactions. Yeah, you're definitely just really controlling. I am not controlling just because I forbid my son from drinking, and he insists on rebelling by doing it anyway. Oh, you're saying your underage son drank alcohol even though he's not allowed because it's illegal? No, I'm saying my rebellious son drank sparkling water even though he's not allowed loud because I listed it as a banned soda-adjacent substance in the 200-page house rules book I wrote and made him memorize. Breaking one of your insane rules doesn't mean your son is rebellious. He's totally rebellious. Like the other day, he rebelled against me by melodramatically throwing himself into a pool just because I mentioned that I may have sewn an electronic tracking device into his jeans. Are you insane? I was joking. I mean, no matter how rebellious I believe my son has become, I would still never hide a tracker in his pants. Thank God. After all, there would be no need for me to do that because I already had his dentist drill a tracker into his back molar